Over the last few tutorials we've created a scene now with pavements, railings and several buildings. But once you've finished working on RailClone objects in a scene like this, then you might not need to update them for a little while. However, if they use complex graphs, rebuilds can still slow down your file operations or launching test renders. To fix that, in RailClone 5 we introduced several caching options that bake in the geometry without losing any of the instancing power and advanced effects that you would if you converted it to an editable poly object or exploded it to native instances. To access the caching options, go to the Display Build Rollout. You'll see that there are two Proxy Cache modes. The first caches the RailClone object and saves the results directly into the scene. This will cut down on the calculations times, but it will add to the size of the file. You can see the size it will add to the scene files right there in the rollout. Now, if you want to convert a whole scene, you don't want to have to do this for every RailClone object separately. To batch change this property for multiple RailClone objects, you can use RailClone Lister. As of RailClone 5.2, there are two new fields that can be added to the Lister UI. Open the settings and add proxy mode and build time. Click OK and they'll now be available in the Lister view. The build time gives you a handy at-a-glance view of the impact of your RailClone object on file operations and renders starting. And you can also change the embed mode using this drop-down list. Notice that when I enable the proxy mode, the build time drops to 0. To change several proxy modes at once, hold down Ctrl to select extra objects or click with Shift to pick a range. You can then change to embedded proxy mode just by selecting it from the drop-down list. Now actually, RailClone is very efficient, so this scene doesn't really have sufficient complexity to really show the benefits. To do that, we'll jump to another scene that uses a more complex style. If we open this scene, on the left we have a version which has embedded proxy mode enabled, and on the right there's a version with proxy mode disabled. I've sped up the video just so we're not watching the screen for too long, but as you can see, the version with the proxy mode enabled loaded substantially faster, in about 13 seconds, whereas the version without proxy mode enabled took 1 minute and 7 seconds. Now there's also a second option that can save the cache once generated to an external file. Not only does this remove the calculation time, but it does so without adding to the size of the scene file. Perhaps even more usefully though, this mode allows you to load the same cache multiple times should you want to reuse the object in the scene. In fact, you can even create a cache and load it into a completely different scene using RailClone as a simple asset loader. To demonstrate this, let's take the roller coaster we created in the previous session and add it to the background of our scene. So I'll open the roller coaster file, select it and head to the Display Build Rollout. First of all, you'll need to generate the proxy cache by changing it to embedded mode. Then once that's done, you can click on Export and save a RailClone proxy file. Now if we head back to the original scene, we can import the roller coaster by adding a new empty RailClone object, going to the Display Build Rollout and changing the mode to external file. Click on Browse and then find the file we just exported. Once you've loaded it, you'll have the roller coaster in the scene with nearly all RailClone's features still supported. You can simply use the Move tool to place it as you wish. I said nearly every feature for a reason there, because external file mode does have a few limitations. For example, the viewport display mode is limited to boxes or quick mesh depending on the mode that was selected when the proxy was created. Note though that this doesn't affect the render. Use segment material and non-geometric objects are also only supported in embedded mode and not in external file mode. Materials in particular need to be applied directly to the RailClone object in external file mode, which is the same behaviour as versions before RailClone 5. I hope that you can see from these examples how using proxy caches can speed up your workflows and help you to use RailClone even more flexibly. In the next tutorial we'll take a look at how RailClone can be used to add road markings, so stay tuned.